Okay, so inshallah, can everybody hear me and see my screen now? Excellent. Yeah, sorry, I purposely put myself on mute because I was on the phone. Okay, so now you should be able to hear me and see my screen, and inshallah, we'll start right away. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. So, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Quran study session, our weekly session for Saturday mornings. So, as is customary, we will start with the dua. Allahumma anis wahshati fi qabri. Allahumma arhamni bil Quran al azim. واجعله لي إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة اللهم ذكرني منه ما نسيت وعلمني منه ما جهلت وارزقني تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار واجعله لي حجة يا رب العالمين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So before we begin, let's correct our intention as we usually do in every class. We're learning the Quran to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to understand what makes Him pleased and what displeases Him, and to live life according to His commands and following the way of His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, that is our intention. Some ground rules to start with: be on time. When it's time to pray, go pray. No need to take notes. This presentation will be available. Actually, I've been making the videos available because I record these sessions, so I make them available as soon as I can. Just upload them and send you guys the link. So, inshallah, hopefully, it is beneficial for everybody. So, today's agenda, we're going to be talking about pronouncing makharij al-huruf, what that is, and then we'll talk about the flow in reading, and we'll discuss what is tajweed. And future sessions, we will have more sessions about tajweed. Obviously, this is a big topic. Tartil, we'll talk about what is tartil. Future sessions will be dedicated to this as well. Tartil is mentioned in the Quran and as well as in the Hadith. We will highlight that briefly. And then we will cover the Arabic alphabet. We'll just go ahead and read it and make sure everybody recognizes each alphabet. And obviously, will dedicate future sessions to be pronouncing to the correct pronunciation of each letter of the alphabet. And then we will talk about the vowels in Arabic, the short vowels, the long vowels, tanween, and so on. And inshallah, we will use this knowledge to ensure that everybody can read properly and before we begin. Okay, I mean basically these sessions right now, in the past two sessions and this session and the next few sessions, are basically introductory sessions, the prerequisite sessions, so you guys can get grounded in the study of the Quran to have the correct prerequisites before we can really begin to pronounce properly, learn the tajweed rules, and memorize some of the surahs as we discussed earlier. Okay, and then we will have everybody who didn't recite the Surah Al-Fatiha for me, and because we had that in the last session. If everybody is already recited, then we will just go ahead and read it with me, and I'll go ahead and read it, and you guys follow along with me, and then we will see if that works. We'll try and establish a way to um, you know tutor Quran over the internet, because this is something that is not that easy. So inshallah, we're trying our best to find the best way possible to get this accomplished, and then we'll give you guys a chance to ask your questions and provide any answers we can. Okay, so um, pronouncing makharij al-huruf is basically how we pronounce everything in the Arabic language, especially when it comes to reading the Quran. So the first and foremost is we have to be able to recognize each letter in the various contexts. So Arabic is such a language where you have, the letters that are individually written, like alif, ba, ta, tha, and so on. And they have various forms that they become, when they get connected to other alphabet. So ba, when it connects to alif, it has a certain form, and if it is in the middle of a word, it has a certain form. And if it connects to wow and ya, it has different forms, and so on. So we need to be able to recognize the various forms and quickly know that that is a ba and not a ta, and so on, right? So how do we recognize each of them in the various contexts? So we will look at the various contexts that are possible, and as we go along, we will recognize them and we'll point out which letter those are. And hopefully you guys are already pretty familiar with it, but if not, we will inshallah cover that as well. And then pronouncing each letter accurately. Now this is we're going to start really with the tajweed next class, but this is basically the very fundamental part of learning to read the Quran properly. So pronouncing each letter accurately is the first step. It is like the fundamental foundation of reading the Quran. So a lot of us have this problem where, because we are not Arabs, we have to learn to pronounce each letter, because otherwise we will pronounce it in the incorrect manner that we've been accustomed to in our own language. So, there are lots and lots of examples, but the common ones are the ones that are difficult to pronounce, especially for people who speak Urdu. They don't pronounce the ain properly. They don't pronounce the dad properly, and so on, because we have a separate separate way of pronouncing that in our own languages, right? And then for Westerners, for example, ghain and kha, for certain Westerners, it's hard to pronounce those letters. So we're going to focus on the ones that obviously are more difficult than the others, but each letter deserves to be studied in and pronounced properly. So for to that end, what we will do is we will look at the makharij. The makharij is basically the place of exit where the sound comes from, such as your throat, your lips, the roof of your mouth, the tongue, where on your tongue, the inside of your teeth, and so on. So where the letters are coming from, where your tongue needs to be, where the sound needs to come out from in order to sound correct. Okay, so it is very important for us to learn that, right? So that is the makharij, and inshallah we will focus on that in the next few sessions, if not more. And then al huruf is basically Arabic letters, the letters. So the plural of harf is just one letter, and huruf is many letters. Okay, learning where the place for each letter is. So this is what is the essence of what is known as makharij al-huruf. So, in order to learn that, we will basically have to study this is the science of tajweed, where it starts from. And this is the starting point of tajweed that we will take in the coming lessons, inshallah. So here's an illustration of, makharij al-huruf. This is commonly used in tajweed classes. This is a famous diagram, or a depiction of where each letter is coming from. So hopefully you can see that you have 6 letters, for example, that are coming from the throat or the halaq, and then the places within the throat that they are coming from. Okay, so like hamza and ha, they're coming from the depth, the lowest most part of your throat. And then you have the ain and the ha, which is coming from the middle part of your throat. And then the gha and ghain and the kha, which is coming from where your whatever that thing is called, the hanging thing in your throat. I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden. So you from the almost like the top part of your throat, and then right above that you have the letters kaf and the qaf. And it is very important to notice that they are, kaf is above and qaf is below, meaning that there are slightly different places on your throat that is coming from. where your tongue begins, basically. And then you have Jim and Sheen and Ya. They come from that part of your mouth, right above your tongue, right where your tongue is. And then you have Da. Da is probably the most difficult letter to pronounce in the Arabic alphabet. It's very hard, and Arabic by another name for Arabic is Lughat al-Dad, the language of the letter Dad, because Dad is used very commonly, and it is a very distinct letter that is not present in any other language. So that is the Dad. And then right above that, you have Lam, and you have Noon and Ra coming from the roof of your mouth. And then you have Ta and Dal and Ta coming from that central place in your near the front of your mouth. And then you have Dha, Tha, and Da or Dal coming from before your teeth. So your tongue needs to be right there, and then your tongue is full when you're pronouncing Dha, and not full when you're pronouncing Dal. And then you have Za, Sin, and Sad. They are right near the tip of your tongue and various places from the context of your teeth. I don't know if you can see the teeth, but right outside your teeth is Za, and then right where your teeth are, right around that area is Sin, and right before that is Sad. And then obviously your lips play a good part in pronouncing Wow and Ba and Meme and Fa. Okay, and your nose does what is called the gunna when it's needed, an in un kind of sound, right? So that comes from your nose. So this is basically a whirlwind tour of Makharij al-Huruf, and we are going to take each of these areas, and we're going to go into the depth of it, because it's very, very important to get this foundation correctly. Once you have this foundation, inshallah, you will be able to read the Quran, pronounce everything properly, because you know the rules behind them. Once you know the rules, you know the Makharij al-Huruf behind them. After that, we will learn the rules of tajweed, when to do what type of rule applies, and what are the different rules to be followed when you are reading the Quran. And as you can tell, these are important in Arabic too. Arabic, you can pretty much get away with it if you can't pronounce certain letters. You can still make the other person understand if you're speaking it. So that's why you have a lot of people, foreigners, living in various Arab countries. They can speak and talk even though they have a bad accent, but they still can make the other person understand what they're talking about. Whereas when you're reading the Quran, you don't want to do that. You have to pronounce it as to the best of your ability. Obviously, not everybody is going to be able to pronounce everything 100%, but as much as you can, you need to pronounce it with the correct, with the correct alphabet, makharij, the place of where your pronunciation is coming from. Okay. The flow in Quran reading is basically reciting the Quran without mistakes, obviously. So practicing it so you don't make mistakes while reciting. Reciting it without awkward stopping. So you know when what is coming up and what you're reading, and reading it slowly, but at the same time not stopping awkwardly in the middle of a sentence, and reading it properly, and then reciting it, knowing where to stop and how. So there are certain places where you do need to stop. So you have to stop at that time, and you need to know how to properly stop, not just abruptly stop. And then you have to recite it knowing where not to stop and why. So there are certain places where you shouldn't stop, because the meaning will change if you stopped there, and so you need to understand a little bit of Arabic. So knowing the common words in Arabic, in the Quranic Arabic context, is very, very important in order to really recite the Quran properly. You can't simply recite it without knowing the meaning, because there are people who, lots and lots of people, in fact, who read the Quran without knowing what their meanings are, and they sometimes make really serious mistakes because they just don't know what they're reading. They just learn how to read it correctly, but they just don't know the meaning behind it, so they will make horrendous mistakes sometimes. So may Allah protect us from that. So we need to learn some Quranic Arabic, so at least the common words are clear to us. We're not making mistakes when those comes, and then those words come, and then there are some difficult words which need to be learned. So if we learn those few words that are uncommon, then we would be able to understand pretty much everything in the Quran. So the idea of the Quran is to make it as easy as possible. So Allah has done that for us already, Alhamdulillah. So now we just need to put some of the effort in order to learn common Arabic words, and then and then the uncommon words are few, and we can learn those separately as well. And once we do that, inshallah, the Quran will become accessible to us in the original Arabic. And obviously, these days there are tons and tons of resources, so it behooves us to go out there and learn learn to read the Quran as much as possible. And one such resource I will share with you today, and inshallah we will try to use that as much as possible in this course. Okay, so reading the Quran obviously with the intention of understanding it. Okay, that is the first and foremost, and then implementing it. Obviously, implementing means to abide by its rulings once we understand what it is. Avoid anything that is that is taught to us that we need to avoid it, and then we need to obviously convey that message to others. I forgot to write that part, but conveying the message, I'll go ahead and write it right now. Yeah, so we need to convey the message of the Quran to others as well, and that is one of the rights of the Quran. And then we need to seek entry into Jannah, because there is lots and lots of places in the Quran that Allah is describing Jannah. So we need to, as far as was the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, to ask Allah for the Jannah when reading the Quran, the verses about Jannah, and seeking the protection of Allah from Jahannam and other punishment. So that's what we need to be doing when we are reading the Quran, and we can do that only when we really understand what we're reading, inshallah. So that is the ultimate goal of this class, to be able to get us to that part. Okay, so tajweed. Tajweed is basically the science of reading the Quran correctly. Okay, learning how to recite the Quran correctly is an obligatory act upon every Muslim, which means that every one of us, every Muslim in fact, needs to learn the Quran properly. How to read the Quran properly is an obligation. It's not optional. We need to be able to. We need to read the Quran in our salah, in our prayers. So that is another reason. But then this Quran was sent as a guidance for us. We need to be able to read it correctly, and to read it correctly is an obligation. In order to do that, obviously, we need to recognize each letter in every context that it comes in the Quran. Learn the makharij of each letter, as we talked about, where the letter is coming from. Pronounce each letter. Actually, this should be makhraj. I'll correct that real quick. Learn the makhraj of each letter, okay? Because each letter comes from one place, right? So makhraj is the singular form of makharij. So learn the makhraj of each letter, where each letter is coming from. Remember, makhraj is the exit point of each letter, where the sound is coming from. Pronounce each letter properly. So once we know where the exit point is, it should be pretty straightforward for us to pronounce it, especially if we know where to place the tongue, how to open your mouth, and so on. But obviously, it will take some practice. Listen and repeat to practice. So listening also is a very good idea. So we should listen to the Quran being recited by qaris, and I will recommend some qaris for you that you can listen to, that are, pronouncing everything correctly, slowly, so each letter is easy to hear and understand. I mean, hear and recognize. Okay, some qaris, they will read it faster, so it's not that conducive to learning. So we need to find some that are um, easier for us to hear and understand, hear and recognize each letter. Okay. Okay, reading the Quran with tartil is mentioned in the Quran. أوزد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. This is in the context of Surah Al-Muzammil, where the Prophet ﷺ is told to get up in the middle of the night and pray the Tahajjud prayer, pray in the middle of the night. And he's being told to recite the Quran with measured recitation. So not in a hurried manner, not where it needs to be longer, it needs to be longer. Where you need to pause, you need to pause, and all those rules that are part of reading it with tartil. Tartil is basically reading it with measured recitation. Okay, so that's what we need to learn to do eventually. Okay. And here the hadith I found that has the mention of tartil. I'll read the translation. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed while sitting. He recited surah in it, and he recited it with such tartil, distinct and clear intonation, that the surah became longer than one that is lengthier. Okay. So this is mentioning that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying. He was praying while sitting down, and he was reading the recitation with such tartil. Tartil meaning distinct and clear intonation, uh, pronouncing each letter properly, and so on. So it became such that it became longer than it normally is, right? So he read, maybe a shorter surah, but he read it with proper, clear, distinct letters, pronouncing each letter properly, that it became longer than what normally seems to be that surah. Okay. So, obviously, when you are giving each letter its due right, you're going to take some time. So it's going to take longer to read. Even the small surahs will become longer to read it, rather than if you read it really, really fast, not following any tartil or tajweed rules, then you can read it fast, but it's not really what is meant to be. Quran is meant to be read with tartil, as we read in the last verse, this one, and recite the Quran with measured recitation. So it's very important to read it properly and take the time that is needed. So it is very common in a lot of countries to try and recite the whole juz, whole sipara, and so obviously the race is to finish the sipara or finish the Quran. So people hardly ever pay attention to how it should be read. Nobody ever really pays attention to what it means, but their main goal is to hurry up and finish it, right? So a lot of people will be just buzzing through it, making mistakes and so on, and just trying to get the whole sipara done. So which is really not the goal. The goal is to, even if you just read two verses or half a page or a page worth of the Quran, and if you read it properly, that is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than trying to read the entire sipara and making tons of mistakes and not understanding anything whatsoever that is in it, right? So if we if we took 1 hour of our time and we decided to sit down and recite the Quran, and we looked up, what each, at this point in time, we're just relying on translations, I'm assuming. So if we looked up the translation and we read it slowly, that whole hour we can probably do like half a page or a page, because there is so many things that we have to consider when we're reading it properly. Whereas you can read the whole juz in half an hour if you really, go like an express train or something. So that is something to be avoided. We don't want to do it in a hurry. Okay. So inshallah, that is the goal. Inshallah, we'll try to do that as much as possible, and try to get that habit into everyone, that we are reciting it slowly and with the right pronunciation, and trying to understand the meanings as much as we can, inshallah. Okay, so this is where we start, the Arabic alphabet. So I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all of you, recognize and can see each of these, because this is basically the alphabet in its original form. It's not really joined with anything else. Alif, ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, kha, dal, ذال راء زاء سين شين صاد ضاد طاء ظاء عين غين فاء قاف كاف لام ميم نون واو ha hamza ya. And that ya is just an extra, just that's not a separate letter, it's just there because to fill the space, I guess. Okay, so I took this obviously as a screenshot from this Nurani Qaida, and I've sent this to you guys already. So you can see, can those of you that need to, that can spend more time in this to kind of learn to read and recognize the letters. We will start with obviously the pronunciation of each letter, how the letters are pronounced properly in the next class, inshallah. But here's an example of the context that changes the way the different letters are shown. So you have like alif by itself, and then you have lam alif, the next letter here, the next two letters, lam alif, and then here's another version of lam alif, and then you have ba alif, and then another version of lam alif. So you already have three versions of lam alif, and then you have lam, and then you have another version of lam alif. So just to recognize that this is a lam and this is an alif, right? So that's how it's written. So we'll cover more of these. Unfortunately, this particular qaida is actually the letter, the writing is more the India Pakistan style, but no matter, we can still leverage this to at least learn the alphabet in its different context, and inshallah we will cover more of this as we go. So if I have sent this via email to everybody, so if you haven't received it, email me and I will send it to you. So inshallah you can practice more. It's very, very important to get this foundation really, really solid, so you don't struggle with it when we are farther along. Okay, a lot of it is straightforward. We learned this as kids, nun ha, ya ha, ba jim, ya mim. So it sounds silly that we're actually pronouncing each of these, and ta thin, ta tha nun, and ya ha ba. Some of this I even remember because our teacher used to get us to sit down and repeat these over and over again. So some of this is like etched in our memory even from our childhood, right? And this obviously is from the Quran itself, so it's good to learn how to pronounce these as well. Okay, so spend some time in this Nurani Qaida, and learn the different ways of recognizing each of these letters in the context. Okay, so you guys can do that on your own. If you have questions, you can obviously ask me. But this is really, really easy because it actually has the letters written in their original form right below it. So it shouldn't be that big a deal to try and understand and what each of these is. But if something is difficult, let me know and inshallah I'll help. Okay, but our focus will be the pronunciation. Okay, rather than recognizing. I think recognizing is a little bit too basic for this class. But if you guys are struggling, by all means, just email me privately and I will let you know. Okay. All right. So that was the Arabic alphabet. Short vowels. I meant to put the actual vowel graphics in here, but I didn't have time to do that. So let me see. I'll just go here. Okay. So this is the short vowels. Okay. Uh, the fatha is on the top of the letter, like that. Ha, a, ha. So the trick is that this is very, very short. You're not supposed to pronounce it or qa or anything like that. It should be pronounced qa by itself because there is nothing to make it long. And same thing with the I, hi, ri, hi, ri. So as you can tell, if you practice it more and more, you'll learn that this is a very, very short vowel and there is nothing to make it long. That is the most important thing to remember, that the kasra and the names of these letters, these vowels, is fatha, kasra, and dhamma. We commonly use them as zabar, zair, pesh in Urdu, right? So in Arabic it's fatha, kasra, and dhamma, and we'll use them a lot during the course of this course, really. Okay, so that is the short vowel. And let me see if I can show you the long vowel. It'll be here somewhere. Yeah. So this is the long vowel. Actually, there is something else here. You could also have um, this type of vowel, but we'll skip that for now. It's not really that important right now. The more important one is the long vowel like this. You have ba alif, ba, and that's why it's ba and not ba, because there is an alif to elongate it. And same thing with ba, wow, and you have a dhamma on top. So bu, and then ba ya with a kasra below ba is b, ba bu b. So it's not ba bu b, but ba bu b because it's longer vowels. Okay, and so on. So you have kha, hu, khi, and obviously the alif goes with the fatha, and the waw goes with the dhamma, and the ya goes with the kasra to make it long vowels. Obviously, if there was a ha and then if there was a fatha and there was a ya or a waw, then it wouldn't make it a long vowel. It only makes sense when you have a fatha followed by an alif, dhamma followed by a waw, and kasra followed by a ya. And you have these little symbols on top, which are really not necessary. That's why um, you can use them, but some of the mushafs will have these symbols, but some of the other ones they won't have it because it's not really necessary. It's understood that that's the case, that it's a long vowel. Okay. All right. So that is the long vowel, and then the next item. Also, I forgot to mention the sukoon. The sukoon is the absence of a vowel. It's basically like when you kind of stop at something, right? So we'll take an example of that. Let me see if we have something in here. Okay, sukoon. So this sukoon is like this. Sometimes it's written as a circle, and sometimes it's written like this. Okay, so it is interchangeable. Um, Let me see, in the Quran we're using Yeah, it's using this symbol. This is the sukun symbol or the jazm symbol in Urdu. So this will basically tell you that there is no vowel on it. You don't pronounce it like the ra has a fatha on it, so you say ra, and then on the ha there is a sukun, so you say rah. So there is no raha or rahi or rahu, but rahmanir-rahim. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then, so this is the sukun. So in this case, it'll be fatha on the alif, so it's a short vowel, and sukun on the ba, so it's is the absence of a vowel. So you'll just say ab, ib, ub, at, it, ut. That kind of that's the idea. Okay, and then the other thing that we skipped, this is basically, it makes it a longer vowel without the alif, just the fact that this is a standing up fatha. There is a special name for it. I forget, but there is a this symbol, and I just saw this in Surah Al-Fatiha. That's why I'm mentioning it. So on meme here you have no alif, but it's still you pronounce it ma ar-Rahma nir-Rahim, and here also you have another one Maliki Yawmiddin. So it's kind of like if you had an alif there, but there's no alif there, but it's just the vowel is longer. Okay. Next item we want to show you is the tanween. Tanween is the same as fatha, kasra, and dhamma, but there's two of them. So you have man, min, mon. Okay, man, min, mon, ban, bin, bun. So you have two of them together to make it into the tanween sound. Tanween is basically you add a noon to it. So man, min, mon. Okay, and sometimes you will see that these two dhammas are two dhammas on top of another instead of an inverted one on top. Okay, and there is a reason for that, and we will cover that when we are looking at tajweed rules. Okay, we have run, rin, run, for example. Okay, and tanween is used quite a bit in the Quran, obviously, and also in Arabic itself generally. So you have the short vowels, the long vowels. So short vowels are fatha, kasra, and dhamma, and then sukun is the absence of the vowel. And then you have the long vowels, which are fatha with alif, kasra with ya, dhamma with a waw to make it long vowels. And you have tanween, which are two fathas, two kasras, and two dhammas. So an, in, un. Okay. Now, this is something that I left in from the last class. I just wanted to reiterate that the study methodology for Quran we are using in this class is to um, learn to read the Quran properly, obviously recognizing each letter, which we're starting to do now, and then learning the makharij al-huruf. We started that, but we're gonna really start tajweed and with that makharij al-huruf next class. And obviously tajweed is a big focus because tajweed is an obligation. It's not optional. We need to be able to follow the rules of reading the Quran properly. And then we will start to, once I figure that you guys are pronouncing things properly, then we will go into what is called hifz of selected surahs. So we will memorize selected smaller surahs, and maybe even longer surahs if you guys are good and interested in it. Quranic Arabic vocabulary, that is the ultimate goal of this class, to cover Quranic Arabic vocabulary so we can understand Quran in its original Arabic. Okay. Again, this is from the last class. I just wanted to reiterate manners of the student of knowledge. Leaving sins is very, very important. Asking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a daily basis, multiple times. The Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to ask forgiveness, many, many, many times, even though he was sinless. He used to ask forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, up to 99 times, 100 times, sometimes 70 times in a single sitting. The Sahaba used to count how many times he said Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Okay. Uh, can you guys still hear me? Are you guys able to still hear me? I can't tell if you can hear me or not. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Sorry about that. I got disconnected. Okay, so can you tell me if you can hear me now? I got disconnected from the internet, so that's why I had to reconnect. But let me know if you can hear me. Just type in the text that you can hear me if you can hear me. And can you see my screen as well? Okay, Alhamdulillah. Sorry about that. My bad. I don't know how where I was when I got disconnected. So I guess I was covering this screen, hopefully. So I'll continue from here. So basically, the manners of the student of knowledge include leaving sins. So anything that is considered a sin, we should be leaving. And when we leave that sin, inshallah, Allah will make it easy for us to learn the Quran. Okay, it doesn't make sense to try and learn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's kalam, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while we still engage in sins. So let's make a commitment to ourselves and ask Allah for forgiveness, ask Allah to make it easy for us to um, leave the sins that we may be involved in. So leave those sins right away, inshallah, and then ask for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiple times every day. Make yourself humble in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Constantly make dua to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making things easy for us. And then we should have the respect that is due for this knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, this knowledge is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we're trying to understand and to pronounce properly, to read properly, and so on. Okay. Next, punctuality. Obviously, being punctual is very, very important in Islam. We need to be able to, um, you know, reserve some time from our busy lives and, regularly learn the Quran, devote time to practice the Quran, and so on. Okay. And husnul khulq is very important characters of every mu'min, every believer, that we need to have this characteristic in our lives, that we are behaving with good akhlaq with everybody around us and everybody that we interact with. Okay, inshallah. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll get each of you to read the Quran. We'll read Surah Al-Fatiha for us. So let me know who didn't read last week so I can get you guys a chance to read it this week. So just type that you didn't read. If you read it, you don't have to type anything. So if you didn't read it, go ahead and type that I didn't read it. So today you will go ahead and, hopefully you have a microphone so you can go ahead and read Surah Al-Fatiha for me. This is for my own analysis, just to know what level you guys are at. So I'm correcting, using the correct level of instruction. Okay. And hopefully everybody is a guy in this class, no girls. Um, there is a separate class being arranged for ladies, which will start very, very soon. So if you're a guy, you can go ahead and read. But if you're a lady, I don't know. I can't. Some of the names I can't tell. For a lady, you're not supposed to read in this class. You will have to attend another class. Okay. Who else did not read um, last week? Okay. I will unmute Shajaz. Okay. Go ahead and read, please. Surah Al-Fatiha. If you have a microphone, you can go ahead and read, Shajaz. Anybody else? Okay. Faiz did not read either. So let's see. Shajaz is not responding, so I'll go ahead and unmute Faiz. Go ahead, Faiz. You can go ahead and read.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Okay. Anybody else? Shajaz, you want to go ahead and read? You're unmuted. Yes, please go ahead. Make sure you enable your microphone. I can't hear you still. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Faiz, yes, you will. Your son will get a chance to read as well in just a minute. So let Shajaz read first.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Okay, Faiz, I'll go ahead and unmute you. You can let your son read now.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Shabash. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Okay. Next. Anybody else?
Farouk.
Okay, go ahead and read.
Farouk. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else left? Android attendee. I don't know who you are, but that's okay. If anybody else wants to read, just type. Go ahead and type. Okay. I guess that's it. So our time is really up, but hopefully you'll give me a chance to show you a couple of things here. So like Surah Al-Fatiha, this is one of the good resources that we can use. And it also has recitation here available. So maybe there is some. Okay, yeah, we will give your 11-year-old a chance here in a second. So you can use Quran.com for listening as well. There's many.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Okay, that's one reciter, but I prefer somebody who can read slowly. So I think there is Quran audio. Let's see. Quran Flash is another one. There's a few resources that are really, for ladies, yes, inshallah, I will announce another class. And as soon as the lady teacher is ready, we can go ahead and use that one, inshallah. So this is another one, that another resource you can use. And there are some benefits to this one. There's
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن
you can
الرحيم
use different reciters.
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
So I'll show you something else. This one is probably good. Or Abdullah Baswar, we can try one of those.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Ameen. Yeah, so this is QuranFlash.com. Has a lot of different features and so on. There's tons of websites and resources. So I just wanted to show you, this is one of the ones we're going to use. I use this for my other classes as well. Quran.com is a good one for quickly finding the verse and the meaning and so on in different languages. This is the one I wanted to highlight. This is the one we're going to use quite a bit in this class. This is readwithtajweed.com, and I encourage you to take a look around this website and get familiar with it. Inshallah, we're going to start with this class, like what is tajweed, rules of tajweed, and so on. So as you can tell, this will be very helpful for this class. And I have a book on tajweed that I use myself for a class that I took a couple of years ago, and it's in a PDF format. Inshallah, once we're ready, I will share that with everybody in this class, so you guys will have a reference manual for learning tajweed. Okay, and then so you should have a mushaf, a copy of the Quran that you use all the time. So you use the same mushaf for reading from. you need to have a good internet connection. I had a problem with that today. Speakers on your computer, laptop, iPad, or whatever device you're using to connect and take this class. And the microphone should be a good help. Make sure you're sitting in a secluded area as much as possible. Obviously, you can't help that sometimes if you're in a noisy area and so on. This is what we're studying. We had a session on ways to study the Quran after our first introductory class. This is our second class, which is this was the third one actually, the reading the Quran properly, and then we will continue with this topic for the next few sessions at least to get yourselves grounded in reading and started on tajweed, and then we will spend some time on memorizing some short surahs as well. And while we're doing that, we will start on learning some Arabic words just for the benefit of understanding the Quran. Okay, so today's resources, readwithtajweed.com. I will go ahead and email this to you so you don't have to write it down. And quranflash.com, this is another one, and quran.com. Okay, so some of these resources will be very, very helpful for us in this class. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now. And our next class, obviously, as I mentioned, we will start with Tajweed 101, the beginning of Tajweed, starting with Makharij al-Huruf and so on. And actually, before you start the questions, I have to let Faiz Qureshi, can you let your 11-year-old read Surah Al-Fatiha?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Ameen. Thank you. Okay, so if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat box. And if not, we will go ahead and end the class. So I'll give you a few minutes to ask questions. And for the ladies class, make sure you have also already filled out the
Last two.
form, registration form. Okay. Okay. Your question is on
Can I see the last questions?
your question is on the hadith that I shared. Okay, this one. Okay, I will unmute you. Okay, go ahead, Kamran. Go ahead, ask your question, please. You're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the question I have.
I'm hearing echo. I'm hearing an echo. Maybe you have multiple microphones or multiple sessions going there, so make sure you only have one nearby.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Kamran, you're gonna have to type. You're gonna have to type because I'm hearing multiple echoes. Like it just keeps on going. Go ahead and type your question. And please make it relevant to this class. Okay, or you could just email me the question. So in any case, yeah, those kind of questions, Kamran, I'm not qualified to answer those questions. So I brought this hadith just to show you that there is a mention of tartil in the Quran, in the hadith. Okay, that's the reason I brought it. I don't have any idea about the context or the background. And you are right, for the prayers you have to stand up, but you know, I'm assuming, but I don't know, that this was some context where he was praying sunnah prayer. Okay, inshallah. So I am not a scholar, so refrain from asking anything that is scholarly, or have to do with fiqh or hadith and things like that. I'm basically just teaching you Quran reading, and that is about it. Okay, just reading and understanding the Quran. And inshallah, you can find lots and lots of teachers who can teach you a lot of the other stuff that need a lot more qualifications than I have, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.